Assalamu alaikum, guys. It is the next day. I'm outside right now at these picnic tables, and I was literally driving somewhere to grab matcha, and then I saw these tables outside, and I feel like it's really hard to find places where you can just sit outside, just exist. So I literally made a U-turn and just came and sat here because it was really beautiful. It's raining and I'm right by the road, and then also I can't find my microphone. I literally had it less than 24 hours ago yesterday, and subhanAllah, I can't find it in the moment, so I hope the audio works out. But I was just sitting out here for a few minutes, and then I thought it'd be fun to recap some of my favorite takeaways from yesterday's Heartwork lecture. Yesterday's was Finding Felicity episode 4, so I wanted to talk about some of my takeaways, my favorite takeaways from that lecture. Honestly, I really cannot stress more to just follow along with this lecture series yourself. When it was first described to me, it was more like finding happiness and prioritizing Allah in your life, but what the actual lecture seems to be is they talk so much about mental health and mental well-being and what the Quran and Sunnah say about that, and I found it to be really relevant and applicable to whoever you are and whatever place of life you are. And I truly think there's no better benefit than just listening to lecture the whole thing yourself. But if that's not something you're ready to do, I just wanted to discuss some of my favorite takeaways. One of them was regarding the hadith that a stronger believer is better than a weak believer, and I thought a really interesting thing he said about this was that even though this is true, there is goodness in both. Like for the stronger believer who's better in their iman and better in their faith, they can be a motivation or inspiration to other believers. But then also for the weak believer who's a little weaker in their iman and weaker in their actions or their worship, can still be helpful to another believer, because then other believers can look at them and relate to them. Like, oh, for example, oh, I missed my prayer last week and I'm really ashamed about that. And then another person might relate and be like, so did I, and I'm also ashamed. So the point is that you're not bragging about this and you're not happy about it, but you're both able to relate to that, and it can provide some comfort. So I just thought it was cool that he was saying that both believers, the strong and the weak believer, can be a form of inspiration for other believers. For the weak one, it would be maybe inspiration to be better or be able to relate to someone. But I thought it was cool how he described that, and of course he ended it with the fact that we should all strive to be strong believers, but that there is goodness in both. Another big takeaway that I liked was a lot of this lecture was about tawakkul and how we need to trust Allah, and he was describing how tawakkul isn't a light trust, it's a strong trust where you place your entire burden on Allah and trust that He's going to get you through it. He provided some examples where some people maybe have weak trust in Allah. So he was saying that, but then he was providing some examples where some people only trust Allah to the extent where they feel comfortable. So for example, if you trust Allah only a little and you make dua for Him to help you in your exam, but then you cheat on your exam, then clearly that's a weak trust in Allah because you ended up cheating. He provided another example where he's like, oh, or if you're making dua for a righteous spouse but then you scroll in the wrong places, obviously that's another weak trust in Allah. And he was saying, imagine how it feels for us when we find out that someone doesn't trust us. It's so hurtful, and yet we don't even place our full trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It was basically that we need to trust in Allah, and sometimes we fear the future. He was talking about this ayah, and to summarize, it was that sometimes Allah allows us to experience what we fear so that we learn to trust Him and realize when we come out afterwards that it's okay and we're okay and that Allah is there for us no matter what. And this really struck me because the goal is to be able to experience really difficult things and still have such faith in Allah and completely trust He's gonna get us out of it. And something that it had me thinking about in relation to the last lecture was how you might get caught in the, oh, is this really horrible thing happening to me because Allah wants me to learn to trust Him better? And maybe it is happening for that. But the main thought I had about this was that not everything is meant to be intellectualized and thought about, and that as Muslims we need to be people of actions. So instead of trying to think, oh, why is this happening to me, or is this happening to me because Allah wants me to place my burden on Him, the real thing we should just be doing is taking action to resolve our situation. We shouldn't think about it too much because we can't really ever know the reason why these things are happening to us. The last main takeaway I got from this lecture was the whole time when he was speaking, I was thinking, what actions can I do to actually increase my trust in Allah? A lot of us already know that we need to have trust in Allah and that we need to trust Him with our burdens, but sometimes it can be difficult because I was like, but what actions can I practically oh, there's ants on the table. But a lot of what I was thinking about this lecture is what actions can I practically take to increase my trust in Allah? And he mentioned how many of us have referenced the stories in the Quran about the prophets. How many of us look back on them in hard times? We have these stories because they went through much worse difficulties than we have, and yet they had trust in Allah and they persevered, and we can learn so many lessons from those stories. And I'm sure most of us probably studied the prophets when we were younger, but how many of us as adults look back on those stories, read them to feel comfort or to understand the lessons from them, or look back on them as adults and properly study them as adults? We could spend our entire life studying the story of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it still wouldn't be enough time to understand all the lessons we can take from his life. So that stuck out with me a lot because I feel like one habit that can happen really easily when we are watching all these lectures and trying to better ourselves is that a lot of it just becomes things to be intellectualized, things to be thought about, but sometimes it doesn't always lead to practical actions. And we can watch 100 lectures, but if we're not taking actions or learning from them and doing something about it, we're not fully benefiting from these lectures in the way that we can. Thank you.
Please have exact fare ready.
If you watched my last vlog, you know I've been trying to buy matcha powder from them. This is like my 4th or 5th time going in the past few weeks asking for a bag because they sell out pretty often. And then subhanAllah, when I bought the bag from them like a few months ago, it was $20 for 20 grams. Now they changed it where it's $25 for 50 grams. So I was like, subhanAllah, if I had bought it earlier, it might have still been the $20 for 20 gram things. I'm now set for the next few months. I'm actually gonna go to the same cafe that I went to yesterday. I have about 3 hours before I need to leave the cafe. And yesterday, subhanAllah, I did a lot of work, but technically it wasn't the work I needed to do. I don't know if anyone else does this, but like sometimes if I have 2 tasks and one is more important, I'll do the one that's less important because there's no pressure. So yesterday, that's what I was doing. I did a lot of work, but that work is not as urgent as some other work that I have to do. So it makes you feel like you're productive, but really you weren't productive. So today I'm going to try and work on my more urgent task. It's like the end of a long hallway, and there's an employee who works at the other end of the hallway. And so when I was praying here last time, I just let her know. It's out of the way, so no one's walking over there. So I just let her know that I was going to be praying in case she was curious on what I was doing, since I was going to put my head on the ground, and I was just letting her know. And she was like, yeah, of course, you're totally welcome to pray there, but if you want, right outside here is the stairwell. No one walks there, and it's more private if you want somewhere more private. So I was like, oh, that's so kind of you to mention. So yeah, I'm just right here praying. I have my little traveling janamas, which is really convenient. I've been carrying this around with me all summer, and I haven't needed to use it really, because usually I come home before I need to pray. And then I also have all my skincare in case I need to do my wudu again, because when you're just out the whole day, I do try to avoid drinking water, but I still have my matcha, so I might have to make wudu again. It just goes to show that people can be really kind, and if you ask them, they're more than willing to help. Like, she told me about this, but I didn't even ask for somewhere more private. She thought I might want somewhere more private. I've decided to leave the coffee shop. I think I spent 2 hours there, and even though I can stay for another hour before I need to leave, I've decided to change my plans because I'm really hungry. So now I'm just gonna go grab some food from one of my favorite places ever. It's just this little deli inside this halal grocery mart, and they have really good smash burgers and chicken and like shawarma. They have a lot of stuff, but I always get their like $6 smash burger, and I literally go there. It takes me like 3 minutes to eat it, and it's awesome. And I'm just gonna go to Rega's house early. I have a Zoom call later on in the week, and I need a suit jacket for it, but I don't own a suit jacket, so I'm just gonna borrow hers, and she asked me to pick it up before I have my class at the Masjid later today, so I'm just gonna get to her house, I guess a little earlier. I actually did do the work I was supposed to do and didn't procrastinate with other work. It was incredibly boring, so boring, which has probably also contributed to my decision to leave early. Insanely sleepy. I want a nap, but I'm literally not gonna be home for another 3-4 hours, so... Oh, and it's so sad. I forgot my matcha at the cafe. I was trying to drink it in the car, and then I realized I had left it. No more matcha for me. Alhamdulillah for that burger. I literally finished it in under 3 minutes. It was delicious. And then there was this auntie I saw, and I was like really surprised to see her because she doesn't live in this area. And then I considered not saying salam. I don't really know what was going on in my brain, but of course I went over and said salam and talked to her. And then she was trying to convince me to get a teaching degree. She felt really strongly about it, and I was like, don't really want a teaching degree, but I'll definitely consider it, as I'm considering many options right now. And of course, because sometimes I give things too much thought, I'm like, is this a sign from Allah that this is something I should genuinely consider? But I don't want to teach. I have like some teaching experience, but like I don't want to do that as a career. I'm just gonna try and stop giving everything so much thought, and I'm going to not think about that further. I got the blazer. Rega's mom packed me some food. I don't remember what Rega said it was, but it might be a type of samosa, and it looks so delicious.